Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. We're going to be doing our annual GWPTY for 2024. I've got my co-host, Headshot. Hello Headshot, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Aye, not too bad, not too bad. We're going to be bringing some games that we played this year. That's what GWPTY stands for, games we played this year. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's games that came out this year. We're just going to be talking about our favourite games that we played. So, Headshot, do you want to go first? What you got?
Oh, do I have the honors? Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I
you got
do
the
that.
honours of going first, buddy.
Now, we're not doing these in any particular order, from what I understand. It's not like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 like ranking.
No, that's fine.
So I'll get the technicality out of the way because this one kind of falls in the wraparound portion of the year, right at the beginning, but one that I really enjoyed and didn't expect to like as much as I did. I got as a Christmas present, and it was the Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Right, yeah.
So I wasn't as blown away with the 2018 Spider-Man as a lot of people were. Like, it was a good game, it was a solid game, the mechanics were great, like the story. I'm an old school Spider-Man, so a lot of the story changes they made, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, I don't know. And like everybody else, I wasn't enthralled with the Mary Jane missions. So, like, when I fired Miles Morales up, I didn't really expect... Yeah, I tempered my expectations, let's put it that way. And I could not put the game down. Like, absolutely loved it. I think it was the perfect length. There was just enough there where you weren't overwhelmed with map icons, but there was still plenty to do. And it didn't overstay its welcome. I absolutely loved it. I liked it more than the 2018 Spider-Man.
So, I played it, but I didn't quite like it as much as the 2018 Spider-Man, and I'll give you a reason, right? I love Miles Morales is my favourite Spider-Man, by the way, so like this, it's nothing to do with the characters or anything like that. But I thought the gameplay was definitely much more fun, but I felt frustrated by some of the boss encounters. Like some of the combat and the boss encounters felt not as fun to play, and I got frustrated, especially with the final boss in the story.
Okay.
If you know,
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that final boss really annoyed me, and I was ready to put the game down after that.
I did kind of see some of those story beats coming a mile away, and that was actually my gripe with the original Spider-Man. Was I thought that the main villain was just, I really wasn't invested in him.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, no, like I really thoroughly, I thoroughly enjoyed the first game, and I really enjoyed the Miles Morales. But like, yeah, with a caveat that it was like there was just a few little things in there that was just like, man, I really wish they didn't do this or they didn't do that or whatever. But yeah, no, it's a great game. Yeah, it's absolutely really fun.
Of course, the other thing that really made it for me, and I think you know a little of this, is that like any game with a good photo mode, and like that immediately improves it a notch or two. So.
Spider-Man's got one of the best, man. Spider-Man's got one of the best.
Oh yeah, and I have a lot of pictures.
Mm-hmm. So it's a really robust photo mode in those games. But yeah, what did you think of the, like, I don't know, like the music in the Spider-Man games is usually pretty good. Were you impressed with it?
Everything, the audio, the music, the sound effects, yeah, it was really good. And I was glad that they kind of like listened and they didn't go overboard with like the stealth missions and stuff. Because Miles wasn't quite as annoying as Mary Jane in the first game, but his missions, and you kind of understand, he didn't have the powers yet. You knew they weren't going to be combat heavy missions, but it felt like the first game went out of its way to take the controller out of your hands or like interrupt the gameplay, because like the best part of a Spider-Man game is swinging around the city, and it felt like you were just constantly being either interrupted via cutscene or phone call or whatever was going on, or taken out of Peter's shoes and put in somebody else's shoes, and it's like, just let me be the character I signed up for. And Miles did that, and it was great.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, the Mary Jane stuff really drove me up the wall as well. Like, I could not stand it. I was like, and the thing is, right, is in the first game, Mary Jane is such an unlikable character. She's always pulling Peter along on like a little string, you know, the carrot on the stick.
Yep.
Peter's always like super excited to be with her, and he's like, oh, maybe I can fix this. And then she's always, you know, digging at him with like little like snide remarks about, oh, I hope you don't think what this means we're getting back together and that. It's like, shut up. It just annoyed the crap out of me. Like, she's always doing that through the whole game, and I'm like, all right, we both know that this game's going to end with you being back together with Peter again. Come on.
Yeah, she was kind of cruel. She
was.
Wow.
She was.
Okay.
She's a very annoying character. I didn't like her at all in the first one. I've not played the second one yet, though, so I've no idea where it goes from there. But,
me either.
Yeah, anyway.
And I know it does come out for PC in January or February, I believe. And it's probably going to be a wait for me, because I don't know if they're going to launch it at $70 or $60. And I'm like, I think I need to wait until that comes down a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, you got like a wee rating or something like that? What would you say about that?
Oh, what are we doing? Like a 10 scale, a 5 scale?
I mean, it's all arbitrary. I mean, you can give it an orange triangle out of a red circle if you want. Like, it doesn't matter. But okay, let's do like a 3-tier system. All right, was it great? Was it good? Or was it fine?
I'd say great. I would actually say
cool.
Great. I was surprised at how much I got sucked into it. So yeah.
Nice. Good. I'm glad. Okay. Well, I'll bring one of my games now. I have quite a lot to choose from, but we will be whittling this list down a wee bit, guys. I'm going to bring the game that surprised me the most first, because... and I've still not, to be fair, I've still not finished this game because I'm playing it with my friend Sam every time he comes round. He only comes round once every couple of weeks, so like we've not actually played all that much of it yet. But I was surprised that the remake to Silent Hill 2 is actually good.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I had like from the trailers that they showed, the original release trailer when they first showed it off, when they first introduced it, I was really excited. And then every trailer after that got me less and less excited because they showed and character interactions, and they showed like some characters that felt like they were redesigned a wee bit too much, and the delivery and some of the lines and all that were just, you know, like it really sort of like made me feel like they missed the mark on what made Silent Hill 2 special.
Okay.
For a lot of people, but it turns out that I was wrong. The characters, yeah, I still don't like some of the redesigns of the characters, and some of the lines still irk me, but that's not what makes the game special. You know what makes the game special? The atmosphere, the world, the town. All that stuff is totally and utterly on point. Visually, audibly, it's a game that just like, it evokes that nostalgia hit from back in the PS2 days for me. And you know, like you could look at the surface level stuff, like, you know, line delivery and character designs and all that, but that's superficial. What really matters is the way the game makes you feel, and I think that game is truly something special in terms of the environmental design and all that.
So
and
it nailed it, is what you're saying.
It nailed it in terms of the environment. It's not nailing it in terms of the characters or their dialogue. Because, like, see, in my brain, right, Silent Hill 2 has a very specific tone. It's deliberately dreamlike in its approach to the way characters interact. And there's a character in the game called Angela. And I mean, this is probably the one that is the most controversial in terms of the character design that she has. there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I hate the new Angela design, you know, like it's this, that, or the next thing, you know, she's no pretty or anything. That's not the reason I don't like it.
Right.
It's the fact that Angela in the game, in this new one, she essentially looks like a cosplayer of Angela. She doesn't look like Angela the character. She looks like a girl dressed up as Angela the character. You know what I mean?
Okay.
She just looks like an entirely different person, but with the same costume on.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's weird because like I'm like, why, you know, they have a character design for Angela. Why don't you just improve on it? You know, like or you know, like at least get it similar or the same, and like sort of add your own twist to it or whatever like that. But no, she just looks like a completely different person, and that kind of disappointed me. And again, some of the lines and all that. There's a specific way that the characters deliver their lines in Silent Hill. It feels kind of stilted and sort of off kilter just a bit, because the town and the games are meant to be weird and eerie, and it also might be a byproduct of the fact, you know, that it's an early sort of 2000s game, so the voice acting was obviously still pretty bad anyway. But there's just something about the modern game where everybody's just kind of chatting as if they're like, this is just another day, and it just kind of feels like they're just like, you know, we're just in Silent Hill, blah, 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 whatever, you know?
Right,
but
right.
There's something special about that weird, stilted way that they talked in the original game that is just kind of missing from this one. But yeah, other than those two things, a couple of the character designs, Eddie and Angela, kind of really annoy me. And some of the dialogue choices are a bit, you know, like some characters don't even sound like they used to, which is fair because like they're different voice actors. But the town is where it's at. You explore in the town. The combat is a bit improved because it's actually got a dodge button now, which is nice. Because in the original Silent Hill, all you had was just like a basic attack, and if you had a gun, that's fine. A bit like, yeah, basic attack, gun stuff. But he's got a dodge now, which really makes the combat a lot more engaging and fun instead of like taking hits that you don't have to take. But the game's not about the combat. The game's about the environment and the immersion of and getting yourself immersed in that environment. And yeah, I think on that regard they utterly nailed it.
Huh.
So far, it's a great for me for Silent Hill 2.
So I'm curious to ask, and I know you haven't finished it yet, like you said, but where would you put this in relation to some of the Resident Evil remakes? Like which ones do you prefer more? Do you prefer the Silent Hill or like Resident Evil 2 and 3, like those kind of remakes?
I think the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes are much, much more adherent to the original. Like they really stuck to the way the characters look and sound and all that. So I think in that respect, I think the Resident Evil games are a lot more faithful to the ideas and the look and the feel. Like when you're playing Resident Evil 2 remake, it's pure nostalgia. You walk into that police station and you're like, this is Resident Evil 2, you know.
Okay.
Silent Hill's a bit different because it's kind of like semi-open world. It's kind of like an open town that you can kind of just run around in, with obviously some limitations. You know, some of the roads are cut off and all that, so you can't just like run around willy-nilly and just go into every house or whatever. But it feels like Silent Hill and it looks like Silent Hill. But I think in terms of like characters and audio and all that, Resident Evil, the remakes, those definitely have a leg up, for sure.
Nice.
That's not to say that the audio design in Silent Hill 2 remake isn't good, because again, it's about the environmental design, the environment sounds and all that is really like on point. It's all nailed. It's just character-wise, it's not as good.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think Resident Evil 4 Remake is probably one of the greatest remakes ever made anyway, so like it's got stiff competition.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so do you have another game that you would like to Have we chat a bit?
I do. So I said when I introduced the first one, I said it was kind of the technicality because I started it in December, finished it in January, and this is another. I don't want to say throwaway, but I'm getting the let's say less interesting to talk to about ones out of the way first. And
Sure.
as much as there's been a lot of controversy around it, and for good reason in some regard, I understand everybody's opinions, but I felt like I have to include this one in there. I'm gonna say Palworld because it was not something like it was on my radar. It wasn't something that I was really over the moon, like looking forward to. It was just kind of like, oh, that looks weird. Pokemon with guns, all right, whatever. And right before it launched, my kids kind of got swept up in the hubbub over it. So it was a game that I think I have like 60 hours in it, which is no small amount. I'm sure there's people that spent way more time in it. I obviously had a fall off with it. But it was more so the game was solid. I'm going to mention this a little bit later, but from talking to me, I'm a survival kind of game guy. Like I like a good sandbox survival game, and there's nothing wrong with that. And one of the things that it did for me that I really enjoyed was that it automated some of your resource gathering. Like I've played a lot of survival games where, wood and stone. You're constantly having to worry about wood and stone and yada, yada, yada. And this game actually, like, it uses the animals, the Pokemon, whatever you want to call them, to do that for you. So the minute that you get that set up, you can just shut that part of the game off and then worry about other stuff. And it's really cool when you're building secondary bases and exploring. And like I said, it was just something that I really got sucked into with the kids. And my one son, he and I don't find as many games in common. So to be able to, like, get some co-op time with the two of them, it was really cool. And I appreciated that. And I'm sure, I play a lot of early access games, and I usually will get to a point where I fall off because it's like, all right, I need to see what happens when this hits 1.0. I'm not going to sit through another save wipe and yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? Like, you get the feel for it, you see how much you like it, and then I usually shelve it until 1.0 hits because I don't want to restart the game 6 times before it launches and burn myself out. So I've probably put it down until it launches. But I've followed the updates. There's been some really significant updates. It seems like there's a lot of new territory, a lot of new stuff. Unfortunately, the dark cloud over it is the lawsuit. That's the elephant in the room.
Look, it's Nintendo's fault. They should have been making good Pokemon games for the past 20 years, but they decided not to.
It is and it's not. I mean, my opinion too is that Palworld really poked the bear in certain instances. Like, they really could have done something to separate some of the characters a lot more, and a
lot more differentiation in the character designs and the concepts, like throwing the ball and that.
Yeah,
bad idea.
They the ball. See, I've seen that mechanic in a lot of games. If I'm not mistaken, like Temtem that was a very popular game within the last couple of years. It's a Pokemon clone. They're using the same mechanic, but some of the character models, it's just like you really flew too close to the sun. Like, you could have changed things up a little bit, and they did come up with a couple creative ones. Like, I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's an Egyptian I don't even know what to call it. It's almost like a dog or so. I don't think there's a Pokemon like that. You know what I mean? Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Do a little bit more of that. Do some of your own, I don't know if they needed a different art director or what could have been done. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't drag it down, because I definitely, again, you know, like if it's something that my kids get back into, it's more the bonding time than it is the game itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, question: it's Pokemon with guns, right? That's how it's essentially framed every time you talk about the game. You in general, just people talking about the game in general. Do the guns add anything? Are they important?
The funny,
or is it just like
the funny thing is, the fact that people describe it as Pokemon with guns, I feel is like really inaccurate, because there's only certain. I mean, I guess you got to call them pals, but it's pretty much Pokemon. There's certain ones that get the guns. Your character, like the stuff that your character uses, is, you know, it's not as in depth as like the one you see on the cover with the mini gun. You know what I mean? And those are, you have to research them, you have to unlock them. It's not like, they're not like stock options, if that makes sense. So it's more like skills that the Pokemon get, like when you level up and you unlock, you know, new abilities, and it adds a little something. But to be fair, it feels very like nuanced. You know, the luster wears off rather quickly, and the gameplay is really what will keep you, because, like I said, I'm a sucker for exploration, survival, sandbox type stuff, and I enjoy that. Like even the collecting, like, you know, trying to find the stuff that you like. There's a bit of a grind, but it's not too terrible.
So is it all online? Is it like online only, or?
No, so a lot of these games in this category, like I said, you know, the survival sandbox type stuff, early access survival stuff, you can do online, but you can also do like an offline single player situation. And I spent probably more time doing that than I did the online component. And I didn't go online in the ether. I only did co-op with people I knew, which I think really was only my kids. I don't know if I played with anybody else.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is a fun time with other people. Like that adds a whole other level to it. But it's totally competent if you just want to play, you know, the single player portion. I don't recall off the top of my head if you need to maintain an online connection to play that single player situation. So don't hold me to that. But
no, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So, great, good, or just fine?
I'd say probably just fine. I mean,
just fine.
I'm not raring to go back to it. I say that now, but I know myself. Like, once I get sucked into something, I get sucked into something. So there's a lot of new stuff by the time I finally go back there. I'll definitely get sucked back in. So I don't want to paint it in a different light, or, you know. But yeah. It's just fine. It's another sandbox survival game. It's fun.
Cool. Yeah. Palworld, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to bring another game now. You are finished, yeah?
Oh yeah, I was done with that.
Oh, okay, cool. Just making sure. Okay, so I'm going to bring the game that I played this year, the one that took me the longest to finish, but it was also probably my favourite game this year. Well, not of this year, because it came out last year. I started playing Baldur's Gate 3 this year, and my goodness, that was an epic tale. So, for anybody who has been living under a rock for the past year, Baldur's Gate 3 is the latest in the Baldur's Gate series. And it is a turn-based strategic role-playing game from the guys that, you know, the Dungeons and Dragons guys.
Right.
It's got it's an epic story. It's got like a wide cast of like really relatable characters, and it's it's an epic fantasy story about big evil thing, stuff from other dimensions, trying to destroy the world and all that, and it's just it really is peak in terms of what it is. It's not going to be for everybody. Like I know you, Headshot. You're not very into like turn-based stuff. The strategy and all that stuff is not really why you play games. You'd rather play like either an action game or a survival game, like you said.
I like the stories, and I would be curious to try it. Even way back when the original Baldur's Gate was out, and some of the similar gameplay style games like that isometric party-driven, I have a hard time like finishing those games. Like I've tried to play a bunch of them, and it just, I don't know what it is. Like it just
same
doesn't click.
Same, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, I've tried playing through what's it called again? Divinity, the Divinity Original Sin games, and I'll get so far, and because they're so long, they're so huge and like expansive, and you're trying to get through all these like huge like landscapes and like narratives and all that, and it just kind of like my main problem is that when a game starts getting really long, I start getting antsy for playing something else.
Yes.
But with Baldur's Gate,
Same.
That did start to happen near the end, but luckily I was so close to the end that I was able to get through it. I was able to sort of like push through that. But yeah, that game took me like 130 hours.
Wow.
Probably about like maybe 30 hours before the end, I had to put the difficulty down because I was like, look, this is just taking too long. I need to get through this before I start resenting the game, And it's not that the game's bad. It's just a personality quirk for me where like I start to get antsy when I'm playing games for way, way, way too long.
That's the difficulty I have with it. You mentioned the difficulty. Well, wow. Sure. That's a little repetitive there, isn't it? But I tried to play Divinity, and I could not get out of the opening area. So it's like figuring things out, and like playing the game becomes tedious, and that's kind of what knocks me off. Or a lot of those older games, like I know the original Baldur's Gate, maybe both of them, there's drop-off points. Like there's a point of no return where like if you make some decisions and you go down a certain path when it comes to quests and things, you're done. You've closed yourself off. You've walled yourself off from other stuff, and sometimes even ended the game. So it can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, what I would say is that if you ever give Baldur's Gate a chance, Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, dude, play it on storyteller mode. Don't worry about the difficulty. If you're interested in the characters and the story, storyteller mode essentially makes enemies really easy to defeat, and it gives you like an extra 100 hit points in that. So you're not going to be dying all the time. Yeah. It really does like make things a lot simpler in terms of like the combat and all that. Not in terms of the gameplay of the combat, but in terms of like the encounters, it makes it a lot more easy for you to just like sort of rush through them. Right.
No, I could see that. I play everything on easy. I'm an easy. I don't care. I'll play everything on easy. But
I play JRPGs on easy. Like that's my rule, is that JRPGs are long enough, and I don't want to make them even longer by fighting a boss for half an hour and then getting killed and having to go back a checkpoint like about 5 hours worth of gameplay or whatever. So,
right.
Yeah,
right.
I play them on easy. I play JRPGs on easy.
It does seem like the perfect game, and that's another one my son got into. And this is the one that I mentioned before, that like our tastes don't normally cross. And he got into it like pretty heavily at one point. And I thought about picking it up, and as quickly as he got into it, he fell off. And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna jump in if I'm gonna be left to play alone. But it seems like the perfect game if you have a squad of people that you play with, if you have friends to co-op it with, that like it's just perfect for that D&D type. once a week, sit down and get into it. But I don't have that, so that's another reason I didn't get into it.
Like I said, it is a bit of a hard sell, and again, it wouldn't be for everybody. And I think personally, depending on how much time people have, because it's already hard enough trying to get people together for a session of any game, much less a game that is like 130 hours long, and like every time you play it, you would be waiting on them taking their turns and all that. So like again, I feel like in that respect, it might be even harder to play with multiplayer, because it's like, unless you've got like a schedule set out for everybody to sort of be here on this day, you know, you can't drop out because we're playing together.
Right.
You know?
Right. Well, that's what it would have to be. It would have to be a separate save, and like I said, it would have to be a game night, like a specific night of the week where all of you get together. And if you have that and the ability, I'm sure there's nothing that will match it, but I don't.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I had a lot of fun playing it single player, because the characters in that game, like there's even a couple of characters that I missed out on in terms of like getting them in my party, but like the characters that I did get are some of the most fleshed out, lovable band of rogues you'll ever play in a game.
Nice.
The characters that I got in my party were Karlach, who's essentially, I don't know if you know what a tiefling is. It's essentially like a person who has horns and a tail, and it kind of looks like a demon, but they're not. It's just like like they've got, like, you know, usually have like red skin or whatever like that. But Karlach's this just absolute sweetheart of a woman who is who only wants to help. She's just like the most sweetest person ever. And then contrasting with that, there's a character called Astarion, who is the most self-absorbed, like utter a-hole of a person ever. Wow. But he has one of the absolutely most incredible payoffs to his story. Like, I actually cried at his resolution to his part in the story. I hated him to start off with. I was like, probably about 30 hours of the game, I was like, this Astarion guy, when is he going to become like a cool guy and like have like a redeemable sort of like character about him? But yeah, he got there, man, and when he got there, it was probably my favourite sort of, you know how you get like in RPGs, like in Mass Effect and all that, where you've got like your loyalty mission for the character.
Yes, absolutely.
And, like, so like Baldur's Gate has like this thread going through the whole game where every character has their own sort of quest that they're on, and yeah, Astarion's sort of like his loyalty quest, his entire sort of through line of the story was probably the most impactful in the whole game. Even though I didn't even like him to start off with, I really despised the character of Astarion, but like he really grew on me at the very end.
Those are the best ones that turn you around.
It's amazing, man. It really was an incredible sort of ending, because like you could feel the emotion. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. These characters are so lovable, and the voice actors, when like I've seen like some behind the scenes like talking with the character, like the voice actors in that, they are so down to earth, man, and they really love and understand the source material, and they really wanted to sort of put their best foot forward. And the developers of the game obviously love those kind of fantasy universes as well, like Dungeons and Dragons and all that, because they wrote so much dialogue for like any scenario that you can think of. Like, if you kill a guy, like, do this, do that, do the next thing. What happens if you do this? They have an answer for that, dialogue-wise and story-wise, you know, like, it's very, very thorough with the kinds of freedoms that you have in that game. And yeah, that's in no small part thanks to the incredible voice actors who brought all of these characters to life, because it's just incredible. Just incredible. Yeah, so Baldur's Gate definitely gets a great from me.
I was going to ask, what's the scale? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great. Probably one of the best games. It's probably in my top 5 of all time.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Nice.
So what about yourself? You got another?
I do. I'm trying to think of which of the three that are left I want to go with. So we'll do another surprise one.
Sure.
I didn't expect to get into this game, and it just kind of dropped, and I was like, yeah, all right. And I think it had like a launch discount. I was like, yeah, give it a shot. How bad could it be? I have the Steam Deck. It seems like the perfect game, which it was for there. Dave the Diver.
Nice.
Nice,
man.
That was such a mix of game types that doesn't sound like it should work. And that's just what kept me. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something about water games or like diving games or underwater games. I like them. There's not enough of them. I like the Subnautica. I like the first one a lot more than the second, but that's a conversation for another time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just not enough of that. It seems like it's such a slam dunk because fishing is a mechanic that they shoehorn into everything, but you don't see a lot of games built around it. And Dave the Diver and also Dredge was another one that was around the same time frame.
Dredge, I played that as well. Dredge is a fantastic game.
I want to get to it. I definitely want to get to it. That's going to be one that I will play. But I picked Dave the Diver when I was in that, because I think they were both out at the same time, and I was like, just go with Dave the Diver. And it just, like I said, it's this mashup that doesn't make sense. You're fishing, you're diving, you're exploring, and you have to like run the sushi restaurant. It's so funny. It's like, what were those old like Diner Dash games? That's basically what it feels like.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on in that game because there's so many other characters and so many other side quests and stories that go on. So like I mentioned earlier talking about Spider-Man, where it felt like they kept pulling you out of what you wanted to do. And the funny thing is, Dave the Diver kind of does the same thing, but it goes over so much better. Like, I'm the kind of person, like I said, survival sandbox games, I could spend tons of time doing the same thing over and over again and playing with it and be totally fine. So when it came to like fishing, gathering the fish, and trying to make money in the restaurant, like I could have just spent hours upon hours doing that and been totally happy and content. But you go through the day cycles, right? Because you can't fish 24/7. You have to be mindful of the time, kind of like a Stardew Valley style. And there's constantly stuff happening. There's constantly characters vying for your attention and side quests and stuff like that. And like I said, I never felt bogged down by it. It was always like, oh, well, I was going to do this, but okay, if you want me to gather that, then let's run with this. Your restaurant will have events. So there'll be somebody who comes in and wants to have a party at the restaurant, let's just say, and there's a particular dish that they want. And now you have to focus your attention on making sure that you have all the stuff for the party. And just all these little things. And the characters, like I said, they were just so cool. It's just such a fun, like, relaxing game. It's not... You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I'm doing it justice describing it, but it was just fantastic. And they announced DLC for it, and I will absolutely go back to it. No spoilers. I will not spoil anything if you're going to play it or if anybody's going to play it, but...
Yeah, dude, we did the opposite things. So, like, I went for Dredge, you went for Dave the Diver, but I've bought Dave the Diver since then, and I've not played it yet. So, like, I really do want to.
It's so
definitely getting into that at some point. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't want to, like I said, no spoilers. But you know how some games do stuff with like the end credits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Best implementation I think I've ever seen. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. It is an absolute treat when you cross the finish line, finish the game. And you can still go back and play afterwards if you want more, which is nice also because I did. There was a couple times I dove back in and was like, I just want to go. I don't really want to play a new game right now. I might have finished something else or whatever. And it's like, I just want to go fish. And then you just, you go dive, you do your thing, and it was so much fun. It was such a surprise. So yeah, I would definitely give Dave the Diver a great, for sure.
Nice. I'm very excited to play it myself. Just my backlog, man. Like, I have so many games. Like, they keep on coming out. I keep on buying them, intending to play them, and then never booting them up for like 3 years after they're out. So.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard being a gamer. People don't understand.
I'll have to do Dredge this year because I do have it, and you'll have to do Dave the Diver, and we'll have to compare notes.
Sure, absolutely, we'll do that. Dave the Diver's like the underwater sections are like kind of Metroidvania, eh? Like you kind of go around and
yes,
like this. It's like an open world kind of map, but underwater.
That's an excellent description because there's sections that you can't get to in the beginning. And there's different areas, and it's exactly like a Metroidvania. Like when you reach the correct points in the story, or you have the correct things, then other things open up, and
that's cool, man. I'm
really
into
cool.
that.
And like I said, it's crazy how many side stories there are. Again, I'm trying not to like divulge anything for anybody who hasn't played it. Like you haven't played it yet. I don't want to give anything away, but. Yeah, there's like a lot of different facets. There's so much going on that you don't expect when you watch the trailer for this game. Because it's like, it's just, I'm going to go fish and sell them, and that's that. It's like, no, you don't realize how much else there is. And it's so cool.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, it's been on my radar ever since, like, the first launch trailer, but, like, yeah, just, I went with Dredge, you went with Dave the Diver, I'm sure we'll cross over this year at some point.
I did play a little Dredge, like I started it just recently, and I was like, oh, I can see myself going down this rabbit hole really easy. It looks very good.
Yeah, that game is, if you let it, that game can be terrifying.
I look forward to it.
It's a very, very cool, weird horror game, that game, about fishing.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm gonna bring it one more, and then we'll see if we've got time for like maybe more after that. But like, yeah. Let's see. I'm going to talk about one of my disappointments this year.
Oh no! Oh no! We're doing that.
So like, there are definitely games that I could talk about that are amazing. Like, I could rattle the rest of these games off and just say, yes, all of these games are amazing, you should play them. But, like, I have to talk about something that I played very recently that everybody loves. But there was just something about it. And I mean, for the most part, it's a good game.
You're starting to sound like me, because that's usually how I am. I'm the one that rains on everybody's parade.
I'm usually the most optimistic, most kind of like, I'm going to, like, this game, like, while I'm playing it, the game's amazing, but this one, man, is... it's just like such a disappointing... And it's not like I hated the game, it was just, there was a lot to it that... just a lot that disappointed me about it. And that game is... drum roll, Metaphor ReFantazio.
Wait, what? I thought you enjoyed that.
After the first 20 hours of the game, it started to get good.
Oh, wow.
And then at the last, say, 8 to 10 hours of the game, that was the end game. When you're ready to go fight the final boss, the game's like, no, you've got like another 10 hours to go. And I'm like, I'm just ready for this to be over. And again, psychologically, that's just a part of my personality. Like once the game starts getting a wee bit long in the tooth, I kind of get antsy and I kind of want it to be over.
I'm the same exact way. I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's so the game took its time getting started. I think the start of that game. Okay, so and let's rewind a little bit. For anybody who doesn't know, Metaphor ReFantazio is the latest Atlas JRPG, which are they're the guys that make the Persona games. So Persona 3 is like my favourite JRPG of all time. And this was their sort of like latest thing. This is the thing that they're building. You know, they're making tentpole RPGs, right? They make the Persona games, they make the Shin Megami Tensei games, and now they're making Metaphor. This is meant to be another franchise. This is meant to be another new tentpole series that they're going to be starting.
Right.
And the game took 20 hours to get started, man. Like, that first city that you're in is like probably the slowest, most boring beginning to any of their games that I've ever played. And I've played Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I've played, like, you know, like, it's just like they're the masters of the JRPG. They have modernized JRPGs from slow, plodding, really stale stories and like gameplay to like really quick, fluid, fast-paced, incredible sort of works of art. And so like I was incredibly excited for Metaphor when it first came out, especially when the reviews came out and they're like, this is the best JRPG. This is Persona minus all the sort of bits that are really boring. And I was really excited to play it, man, and my goodness. When the game gets rolling, it's really good. But by the end of the game, I was like, I'm done. I really, really can't be bothered with this. And I still had like between 8 and 10 hours left to do when I was at that point. Oof. Yeah. So, you know, some of the characters are really good. I don't think any of them hold a candle to any of the Persona characters. Shin Megami Tensei doesn't really have any story, and I think that was a better game. That was like one of the games that I actually brought. That was like one of the games that I played this year that I loved. But I had to talk about Metaphor because Metaphor, please, anybody who's listening to this, don't play Metaphor. It's a waste of time.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement.
Dude, like, sometimes it's the journey and not the destination, right? But Metaphor makes you sit at that destination for like an extra hour after you finish the game.
Oof.
Do you imagine like a post-credits scene at the end of Marvel, right? But that post-credits scene is like another movie.
A whole other movie. Yeah, no, I'm good.
It's like, yeah. Like, see, like, there were really interesting parts in the game. Like, there was when the game really picked up and started sort of getting into the, like, what's going on in this world, you know? All that stuff was really interesting in that, But, like, yeah, I don't think the characters themselves were interested enough to prop up that story. And, like, even the music, people were like, oh, some of the music in this game is some of the best that I've ever heard in an Atlas game. And I'm like, what tracks? Because like none of these sound as good as like the Persona game tracks, or like even like the Shin Megami Tensei tracks are like incredible. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like I had a good time with the middle portion of that game.
Yeah, I thought you had liked it more than that. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint, but Metaphor should not have disappointed me. So I'm just going to give it, I mean, it deserves better than a fine, but I'm just going to give it a fine because it's not good. It's in between good and fine somewhere. This 3-point system's like starting to fall apart now that I mention it. But fine, I'm going to give it a fine. It was a disappointment this year, unfortunately, and I was really anticipating the game, really looking forward to it. And yeah,
I guess we need a I wish it was fine rating.
Yeah, I wish it was good. I wish it was good rating. Like I would take good over fine, even if the game's not great. But it was just fine.
It was
just fine. Yeah.
So
oh,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask if you've got if you've got time for more, or like, were you going to ask a question about Metaphor?
No, I was actually curious how many more you had, because it sounded like that was your last one.
Well, I mean, we are getting up there in time, but like, I'm quite happy to keep going if you've got the time for more. Like, I was going to ask if you want to do like a couple more, and then
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Why don't we do one more, and then I have like some honorable mentions that I was going to rattle off quick.
Sure, that we can do that. That'll be great.
All right, so you're going to like my finale then. Were you done? Did you have any?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to let everybody know that Metaphor isn't as good as everybody else says it is, and I've got impeccable taste in games, so I really know what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely. We'll go with that.
Anyway, sorry. Okay, what's your next game?
All right, so my last one's not going to be a surprise to you, and to be fair, I haven't finished it yet. I absolutely will. That there's no question that I will be finishing this game. Ghost of Tsushima. It came to PC later, so I know it's an older game, but we only got it recently, and that was another one that was a gift from the wife, and oh my goodness. So I talked a little Spider-Man already, and you know, I'm sure it's me, and you know, whatever, but I've learned to temper my expectations with Sony games, because I don't seem to be as like over the moon for them as a lot of people are. I had wanted to play Uncharted. I didn't realize that the one that came on PC was only the fourth one in the series, so I don't have access to the other three, which seems weird. Horizon was really fun for a while, but I fell off. I already mentioned what I thought about Spider-Man 2019, or 2018 rather. It didn't grab me as much as I would have liked. So, you know, when Tsushima came around, I hadn't seen as much about it. It seemed like my type of game. Open world, very stylized, melee combat. Like, it checked all the right boxes. But man, I was not prepared for just how good that game is. It's a gorgeous game. The combat, I wouldn't change a thing. Like, it's just perfect. It's not a button masher. You need to be methodical, but it doesn't hit you over the head with all of these things to do and combos to learn and excess stuff. Like, there's just enough there for you to master and get in depth with, but it's not overwhelming and you don't lose a bunch of moves in the shuffle. Like, I really like it. It gives you tons of options to tailor the combat to your play style, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I may play it completely different from you or someone else, but at the same time, we're all having the same experience. The characters are great. The story's great. The exploration is great. Like, you and I had talked about this already, the way that they implement the wind so that you don't have this, like, highlighted path, or I can appreciate that they give you that stealth vision. I forget what it's called in the game. It's like you attune your senses.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely appreciate that, and I like that. I like that they didn't rely on that for your pathfinding. You know, you use it when you need to, but it's not like an Arkham game where you spend half the game in this.
Oh, dude.
I love the Arkham games, but if there's one complaint I have,
same.
It's that you spend most of the game in detective vision, and it takes away from the setting and the scenes and
absolutely
the graphics.
Couldn't agree more.
So yeah, I don't know what more I could say about it. Like I said, I haven't finished it. I take that back. There is one more thing I'll say about it. So the other reason I'm really so over the moon with it is that I've already talked about how much I like sandbox survival games. I can be a sucker for an open world game too. Like I'm an exploration guy. You give me a fun world to explore, whether it's an open world game like Tsushima or a sandbox survival game like some of the other stuff I mentioned. I'm a sucker for that. I will spend tons of time in a world like that if I'm enjoying it. And the coolest thing about Tsushima is that it has that, like, it can draw you in for hours, or if you don't have that much time to spend with it, you can fire it up and you could spend 20 minutes there. Maybe you find a fox den. Maybe you finish up a quest that you started earlier. Maybe you just check off the next quest in a line of, in a quest line that you're in progress doing. It doesn't matter. It's so satisfying, whether it's 20 minutes or 4 hours. Like it's just so great.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about that game. For anybody who doesn't know, I've platinumed that game twice. I played it on PS4, platinumed it. Played it on PS5, platinumed it.
Soon to be a third time.
It's the only game that I've done that way, and that should be a testament to how good Ghost of Tsushima is. So if you've not played Ghost of Tsushima, you owe it to yourself as a gamer to play that game.
Oh, it's
phenomenal.
It's amazing. I really did not realize how much I was going to enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to spending more time with it and finishing it. And
to add to your point as well about the whether you've got like 20 minutes or like a couple of hours, all the game's systems, finding yourself like a fox shrine, like you said, finding yourself like a hot springs and all of that feeds into the progress of your characters.
Right.
The progress of your character.
Right.
Like Jin's character is shaped by all of these things, finding all these things. Some of it is just cosmetic. Sometimes you'll just find a headband. Sometimes you'll find like a sword sheath for your sword or whatever like that. But like, there are things that allow you to explore that game without ever having to open up your map. You don't have like there's a huge map in that game. That game is massive, but like there's things in that game like the foxes, like the birds, like the wind, all these things you can. On the PS5, all you have to do is slide your thumb up against the touchpad to make the wind show you the direction. It's very intuitive.
Nice.
And whatever you've got highlighted as your current objective, like whether it's a custom waypoint or whether it's a story mission that you're heading towards, swipe up on the swipe up on the touchpad, and the wind will guide you there. You don't have to open your map to get there. So I found myself the first time I played that game. I found myself never looking at the map, just like going from place to place to place, and then if I had a mission that came up, I would just swipe up on the D-pad and be guided there. And it's like, that game is so immersive because of these things.
Yeah.
And the music, like little, like where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom sort of flirt with the idea of having really ambient soundtracks while you're exploring, this game takes that concept and runs with it, like you've got really ambient sort of like light flourishes of like, flutes and things like that as you're playing. It's just wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Like they really, really leaned heavily into the Japanese culture and like the concept of like, like samurais and honor and all that stuff. It's really Sucker Punch for a Western developer. Sucker Punch are like masters of the craft. They know what they're doing.
Fantastic sound design, like you said, yes. And to your point,
phenomenal.
That world, like you said before, like if you're playing a game, so like I'll give a quick example. Fallout 4 was a game I really enjoyed. If we're talking about exploration and being immersed in the world. And that was a game, like you brought up before, you get antsy. I was very early in the quest line, and I just ditched the main quest, and I just wanted to explore. And I want to say I spent like 40 hours exploring this game and then I hit that wall. I hit that drop-off point. And this one, when I hit that point or when I get tired, I'm like a fast travel guy. I can be, when I get antsy, like you were talking about before, I'll fast travel everywhere. Like, let's just move this along. Let's get things going. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about what I'm going to play next or whatever it might be. And in this one, like I'll fast travel when I want to upgrade my stuff or see a merchant. But I find myself not fast traveling very often at all.
It's the perfect game to just like run around, get on your horse, and what's over there?
Yep, definitely.
It's the perfect game for that, man. It's so wonderful.
Definitely. And that's not typically me. Like, I'm typically the guy, if there's a fast travel mechanic, I'm going to use it because I don't know what it is. Sometimes I just want to maximize my time. Sometimes I just want to get a lot done. Sometimes I just want to move things along if I've hit that antsy point in the game. And this one is just, it's got this like calm, peaceful, even though you're in the middle of a war and all of these things going on, it's just got this calm, peaceful element where, like you said, you just want to, you know what? No, I'm just going to take the horse. I'm just going to go over there. I'm just going to explore over here because there's a question mark I haven't seen. And there's just enough on the map for you to do that it's not the Ubisoft icon vomit that's all over the place.
Yeah, it doesn't overcrowd the map. There is a lot to do, but it's not in your face about it. It's very sort of, like you said, it's peaceful, and like some of the things that you'll eventually find are like little rocks that you can sit on where you like write haikus and all that, you know. So like, it's just this very incredibly beautiful combat. The combat is like brutal and wonderful and visceral, but like it's also got these really sort of poignant, peaceful moments in these games, in the game, and it just lends so much credence to like Sucker Punch as a developer for being able to nail that sort of the idea of like feudal Japan, like this kind of idea of like being invaded by the Mongols and still having time to like take a hot springs bath or like take the time to write a poem or like, you know, just enjoy the scenery. Like, I mean, that game's got a really good photo mode in it as well, so you probably had so much fun just sitting there.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, like I could gush about this game all day, but like, you know, like Ghost of Tsushima is like probably one of my other, you know, top 5 of all time games. It's just amazing, and yeah, so good.
It's definitely a great for me because I even
Absolutely.
Not having finished it, there's no way that it's not going to get a great. So.
Yep. For sure. So, do you want to rattle off your ones, or do you want me to finish my one first, and then we'll sort of rattle off the last of the ones that we've got?
Yeah, finish your one first, and then I'll.
Okay.
I'll do some honorable mentions and things.
Sure.
Unless you need me to fill that space while you look, because I can always do that.
It's fine. We'll go with. Let me see. Right. Okay. You've played more of this game than I have. I want to talk about it.
Okay.
I want to talk about it. Because I played, like, the opening mission last night. And I want to talk about it because it's really cool.
I know where this is going.
So, I only just installed it last night, so I'm nowhere near finished it. I only just did the tutorial mission last night. And this is Space Marine 2. So, you've played, like, you're almost finished the game. I'm nowhere near finished the game, but, like, from what I played in the first mission, I think that's probably going to be my next one after Mario and Luigi is finished. It's probably going to jump straight into that. I was going to be playing Dragon Quest 3, the HD 2D remake, but I don't know, after playing the demo, the opening mission to Space Marine 2, that game is Doom 2016 but third person, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So, all I can talk about is my experience of the first level. So, what happens is, you're in your spaceship, and you're coming down. The idea in the first mission is that you've got to fire off, like, a virus bomb or something like that in the atmosphere so you can kill all the Tyranids or whatever they're called.
Yep.
And so you get knocked out of your spaceship, like the Tyranids like attack the ship and like fly through and knock you out, and like you end up landing on the surface of the planet, and you just rip and tear until it is done. It's just such a, you got your chainsaw sword, you've got your cool gun, you know, and you're just in this gigantic power armor, like Fallout definitely ripped off like Warhammer for power armor stuff, you know, like, but
oh sure,
yeah, absolutely, you know, like, it's funny because like I'm not a big Warhammer guy. Like I always went, you know, I was always the guy who went for Warcraft instead of Warhammer. I'm always the guy that goes to Dungeons and Dragons and not Warhammer. You know, like Warhammer's kind of like that ancillary series that I was just never really into. But like, my goodness, man, Space Marines are like the coolest, the coolest, most badass guys.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's so funny because it's like, just going through that level and just like the amount of enemies that could overwhelm you is crazy. But you do your like 1, 2, 3 combo and then the stomp and it just the screen's covered in blood, man. Like, it's so fun.
And it does have a good photo mode. Speaking of the screen covered in blood,
I clicked on the photo mode and there wasn't a lot in there. Not compared to something like Spider-Man or Ghost of Tsushima.
True.
But
yeah.
It does one thing that I do really enjoy about that photo mode is that it allows you to get right up close to the character design, so you can like look at them and have like a good long look at how they designed these characters. Because I'm kind of like a character design buff. Like I'm really into that kind of the very small details, getting in there and like having a good look at them and seeing all the stuff that they designed. Like the Space Marine emblems with the skulls and all that stuff, and on the shoulder pads and everything. All that stuff is so incredibly well designed and it looks great.
Detailed. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, very super detailed. But yeah, like you'll know yourself, man. Like being able to, you know, like do a power punch to an enemy and then instantly like shoot them in the face afterwards. Like it gives it like a cool little like hunter's mark after you've knocked them senseless, and then you can, you know, like immediately hit your trigger button and it gives you an extra blast with your gun in the face, and it's just so satisfying.
Oh yeah,
parrying the enemies as well, like letting them jump, like you see them, they're about to jump at you, and then you hold the parry button and you grab them in midair and just chainsaw their guts out. It's just it's Doom. It's Doom, but like third person. It's like the perfect version of Doom.
It's fantastic. It is so good. I'm surprised it didn't get more attention. It seems like when it came out, like everybody was all about it, and then it just, as quickly as it was all about it, it fell right off. And
I wasn't planning on even getting it this early, but you kept on hyping it up, and you were also talking about the possibility of playing it like multiplayer and all that. I was like, man, like it's got crossplay, we could play it, and like
yeah.
But yeah, I installed it last night after the Game Awards. Just for anybody who's listening to this, let's date this episode. I watched the Game Awards last night. Wasn't worth staying up for, but there were a couple of good announcements, and I was really happy that Astrobot won Game of the Year. Thank you so much to everybody who voted for that, because we need to tell these gigantic, stupid corporations that are flushing $400 million down the toilet that smaller games can actually be meaningful and impactful to people. Anyway, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now. Space Marine's amazing.
No. I heard the same thing last night. I was talking to somebody, and like Astrobot winning was just it was really nice to see, because it seemed like
it was a feel-good moment, man. Like just after the past few years of hearing all these companies wasting so much money and firing so many people and getting rid of studios and that, man. Like to know that this, the little bot that could actually win Game of the Year. This little silly wee platformer that is essentially a walking advertisement for all PlayStation's games. It's like, it's just heartwarming to see like this small studio of like 64 people, and I think the budget was relatively small as well. Like Concord cost $400 million, and that was flushed straight down the toilet.
Oh jeez.
And I think Astrobot was like 60 million. It's just like a very small, low-budget game. Usually they'll have like the Last of Us games upwards of over 100 million, 200 million, something like that. Astrobot's like 60. And I'm not saying that 60 million is a small amount of money. It's not. It's definitely not indie game money. But, compared to their other big games like Spider-Man and, God of War and all that, this was a very small budget game. And, yeah. people need to understand that that's important, because I don't want Sony to be wasting 400 million and then firing a bunch of people because they lost money. You know?
Right.
Anyway, sorry. Again, off my soapbox. I'm sorry. Space Marine's amazing.
That's right. We were originally talking about Space Marine, not Astrobot.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So I guess that would get a great from you then.
Dude, played the first mission and it's already a great. Yeah. I can't see it going downhill, because if that game's only going to get added to in terms of its gameplay, and yeah, I'm very, very happy with that game so far.
Yeah, there's some other interesting elements. It's really good. It's really good.
Cool. Yeah, very, very happy with that. So we're going to be coming up to the wrap up point, but like, what other quickfire? You want to rattle off your quickfire list?
Yeah, I'm looking at my list here. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me do a very, very brief mention, and then I'll rattle off some quickfire if that works.
Okay, go for it.
So, you did one before that you didn't like. You shared a game that you didn't like. I'm going to share a game that I'm ashamed that I played, and I'm going to save everybody else from ever looking at this, because I don't think they would have looked at it anyway. So there's a game on Steam, I think we talked about this once, called Revenge of the Colon.
Revenge of the Colon?
Colon, correct. And my parents come over once a week for dinner, so they were here, and I connected. I think I was playing it on the Steam Deck, and I connected it to the TV. We played through the entire game. It's a very short game. It's like a couple hours. And my parents were like, what in the world is going on? So the game's a little stylized, even though it is newer. It has PS1 type graphics, which you should be thankful for. And
lovely.
It's I don't want to call it a horror game, but I guess you probably could. It's about performing colonoscopies.
Cool.
So it's like that inner space, you see what the camera sees, and of course, there's not some normal things going on there, and I think there's only like 4 or 5 patients, and you go from one to the next, and then there's definitely some interesting stuff, and it's just weird. It's gross and it's weird.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it's gross.
Right. And thankfully, that's where the PS1 graphics come in. Like, we don't need to do this in Unreal Engine 5, Like, we get the idea. But, yeah, I'm ashamed to say I played it, and not only ashamed to say I played it, but played it all the way through. But, yeah, there's that. So, I did it, so you didn't have to.
Did you enjoy it, though?
I actually did. It was kind of funny, but I think part of the enjoyment came from the fact that there was an audience. You know what I mean? Like, if I sat alone and played through this game, I don't know that it would have been as enjoyable. But, like, my kids were coming in and out, and they're like, oh, what is this? It was that kind of, like, busy atmosphere that added to the enjoyment of it. So
yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that's cool, man.
That was funny.
Okay.
So, quickfire mentions.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a bunch. I will try to run through these really quick. I spent a glut of time with Grounded. I mentioned survival games. Love them. Mm-hmm. Grounded really sucked me in this year. I didn't mention that.
I've played a tiny little bit of that. Like, barely the beginning. Got the to the giant radio and started doing the quest of trying to like power up the radio or whatever. Yeah.
It's fun. It sucked me in.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Games I finished this year that I didn't include, that are notable. I finished Control in my quest to build up to play Alan Wake 2. I did finish Alan Wake 2, so there is that.
Brilliant.
I finally, after all these years, finished the first playthrough of Skyrim. So I can say that I saw the end of the campaign. I crossed that finish line. I played Callisto Protocol, which I somewhat enjoyed. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I played that as well. I found that I got the most enjoyment out of that game. When I started playing it, I was like, "Oh, this is bad," and then I turned it down to easy and put on all of the modifiers that like help people play the game, and then I had a lot of fun with it. I was like, "Oh, this is actually really fun." If you just like don't care about challenge and you want to just like play the game.
Right. See, I
Yeah.
was the opposite. I started it and I was like, "Oh wow, like it's really visceral combat." I was like, "Okay, this is cool. This is interesting. You've got my attention." And then what happened was you get to the end of the game and the game like really, I think I was playing it on easy. I don't remember if it was easy or normal. But the game really back ends you at the end of the game into this corner where you don't have any more healing items, you don't have any more ammo, and you literally have nothing that you can do. So you had told me about those modifiers, and I turned on the modifiers, and that's the only way I was able to finish it. So,
Yeah.
All right, so I said I was going to be quick, and I'm rambling. So let me make.
No. I started talking about it as well, man. It's okay.
No, that's okay. Some really fun ones. Double Dragon Gaiden was good. TMNT
Nice.
Splintered Fate is amazing. Raven's Watch is another cool, like roguelike. My survival stuff, I spent some time in Enshrouded and Return to Moria, so I haven't finished those. Space Marine 2, like you mentioned, I'm nearing the end of that, and that's going to be a great one. I dabbled in Indiana Jones, and I really like that so far.
Yeah.
Helldivers, we played a little of that.
Yeah.
I enjoy Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar game. It's like an updated Far Cry Primal, and I absolutely loved Primal, so it's right it's right up my alley.
Ubisoft quest vomit all over your map.
It's absolutely generic, and I mean, if you're expecting anything more than generic Ubisoft, then you're going to be disappointed. But sometimes I'm okay with that, and that one kind of works for me. I need to finish the Starfield DLC, Shattered Space, which I intend to do on stream because I started it on stream. Last two that I'm going to throw out there really quick. We talked about one of these. I didn't hate Suicide Squad as much as everybody else did. I played through it this year. I thought the campaign was fine. You know, it was serviceable. Was it as good as the Arkham games? No. But it was interesting enough to me to keep me going through the campaign, and I'm probably not done with it. They just released their last season, and I'm going to play some of it. I'm going to try and unlock some of the characters that I haven't unlocked yet. It's mindless fun. Again, if you're expecting anything more than generic, you're going to be disappointed. But one that really surprised me that I just picked up in the last couple days, and this will be the last one that I finish with. I started playing SteamWorld Build. Are you familiar with this one?
I know the game. I've not played it. I love the SteamWorld dig games though.
Yes.
They're really fun.
I like the dig ones. I didn't like the tactical ones that they did. I was like, they're just not for me. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're really good.
Yeah.
So SteamWorld Build, if you took SimCity and Stardew Valley and mashed them together, like, it's just so interesting how these two things come together. Like, it starts off like a SimCity style game. There's a story to it, and there's an end goal, and that's fine, and it's interesting. And you start doing your SimCity type stuff, arranging your town and growing it and making sure that all of your people are happy and that kind of thing. And then it just opens up into the caverns below the planet's surface, and now you have to balance your time in the two, and what you find in the caverns helps you with your above ground stuff, and vice versa. You know, the improvements that you make above ground affect your efficacy below ground, and it's just so cool, and it's easy to lose gluts of time in it, and it's just a lot of fun. So I'm not done with that one either. I'm gonna be spending more time, but
nice.
But that's a good smattering of the other things that I've played this year.
Cool. Have you ever heard of a band called Steam Powered Giraffe?
I can't say that I have.
I believe that they make some music for the SteamWorld games.
Oh, nice.
You should look them up. They're actually really, really, really good. Check out a song called like Honeybee. That's really sweet and melodic and really nice. It's easy listening.
Oh, I'll have to do that. That's cool.
Totally. Yeah, steam-powered giraffe, they're called. But anyway, I'll rattle off the last of what I have. So I had 5 games that I was going to bring to the table, but I only got round to like 3 or 4 of them. So we talked about Baldur's Gate. I was going to bring Alan Wake 2, because Alan Wake 2 I did play this year. I didn't play it back when it first came out, because I was waiting on a physical version, and then by the time January or February rolled around, I was like, they're not going to bring out a physical version, I better just buy it on digital. And then after I bought it on digital, they did announce that they were going to bring it out physically, so I should have waited. But yeah, I played Alan Wake this year, and that game is absolutely incredible. It's like... it's all that I could have hoped for in terms of a sequel to one of my favourite survival... Well, not a survival horror game as such. Like, the original Alan Wake's more like a kind of like an action game with survival elements in it.
Right.
But, yeah, I really... They took Alan Wake's concept and turned it into a survival horror game, and I loved it. I loved the story of Alan Wake. I loved the story of Saga Anderson as well. I loved all the characters, all the twists and all that. It's just an incredible game. Anyway, sorry. Like, this is meant to be a quick fire rattle off thing. I was going to bring Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as well.
Oh, nice.
Love everything about that game except Chadley and everything that he is involved with in that game. There's a character called Chadley who's this little annoying robot boy who gives you all your side quests and makes you, like, essentially gives you a reason to explore the open world outside of wanting to explore it. Like, if you go over here and fight these things, I'll give you a reward sort of thing. You know, like, just... I hate him. I hate him so much. He's the most annoying character, and most, like, it's just so obtuse to have to report back to this stupid little robot boy all the time. That character never appeared in the original game. Why is he in this one? Go away, okay. Chadley. Forever. Go away, Chadley. I don't like you.
That's funny.
Anyway, Dragon's Dogma 2, an amazing game. Phenomenal game. Open world Monster Hunter, essentially. It's just so good.
I forgot about that one. I need to play that one.
It's really, really good, man. It's really good. And Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. I bought the original Shin Megami Tensei 5 back on Switch when it first came out. That game ran like complete ass, though. Like, you press the start button to go into your menu, and it like drops to like 12 frames a second. It's like, how can a menu drop to 12 frames a second? The game barely ran at like 15 frames a second, I think. It's like, but then they brought out the Vengeance version, which is like a multi-platform version that came out on the PS5. Played it on the PS5, absolutely loved it. One of my favourite JRPGs that I've ever played. Anyway, disappointment, Persona 3 Reload.
Oh, really?
I love Persona 3 is my favourite Persona game. They made a remake of it, and it feels like they didn't understand what made Persona 3 special at all. And they actually got a new singer for the game who doesn't sound even remotely like the previous singer, so it ruins the vibe of the game. Anyway, Neva is another disappointment, unfortunately. Not because it's a bad game, but because it's nowhere near as good as Grey, the game that they made before.
Really?
Grey. Yeah.
It seemed like it got a lot of fanfare last night at the Game Awards, and I never heard of it.
I'm absolutely sure. Like again, it's not a bad game. It's just in light of Greece or Gree or whatever the name is, because it's French, so it's Gree. But yeah,
roll the R.
In Glee, it's like a really immersive, puzzly, beautiful experience. Neva is like really beautiful, but it's not immersive because it's just an action game. It's just like you run left or you run right and you just beat up enemies, but it's beautiful. So like I just kind of feel like missed the mark just a little bit on Neva. It's still a good game, and I'm glad that I played it, but it was a bit disappointing because I was really excited for it after Glee.
Huh. Okay.
And I'm just going to rattle these last 6 off really quickly. Sekiro, played that and finished it this year. Fantastic game.
Nice.
Animal Well, amazing little Metroidvania, indie Metroidvania, published by Video Game Donkey, Big Mode. Video Game Donkey's company, Big Mode. The first game that they ever published. And yeah, amazing little Metroidvania. Solar Ash, which is like this really cool dystopian futuristic sort of game where you're like essentially rollerblading on clouds and like flying around and like fighting huge bosses to try and fix the world, and it's really wonderful. Soma, survival horror game that one of my streamer, you got like a dedicated viewer, someone who's always in. His name's Ren, and he recommended Soma as a game that I should play. And that game's really, really cool. Some very sort of transhumanism ideas about like what it means to be alive, what it means to be human, the concept of like being your mind being placed in a robot, that kind of thing. Like where does the human start and the robot end and all that stuff, you know? All that really weird kind of cerebral concepts that I really, really enjoy. I played Glee this year as well, and I thought that was just better than Neva. And finally, thank goodness you're here. That quirky little British comedy game where you're just running around slapping everybody. I thought that game was really, really fun, really silly. And it's only like 2 hours long, but it's just like joke after joke after joke after joke, and it's just really silly and fun. But yeah, I think that's everything.
Nice. That's pretty cool. That's like...
So yeah, it sounds like you had a great year for games, even if you didn't finish all of them.
I didn't think I played as much as I did until I started going through like my history and stuff, and I was like, holy cow. And that's not even, we talked earlier, that's not even counting. I think I finished Tears of the Kingdom this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you might have, yeah.
So that might be
very early this year, so like January, February, something like that, I think.
Yeah, that might be another mention that I didn't get to put in there, which I checked that one off the list, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're so relieved.
I don't want to say it like that, but yeah, it didn't grab me as much as some of the other stuff I talked about.
Absolutely. I think that game's wonderful, and I'm playing through it on stream right now anyway. So if you wanted to watch that, folks, it's Twitch.tv/StupidlyEpic if you want to watch it there. That's great. Anyway, I think is that us? I think we're done then, yeah?
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Guys,
that's everything I had. Yeah,
guys, thank you so much for listening. This is we might do another one next year, depending on if we've played enough games to warrant it. But yeah, I think we're done. And thank you so much for listening, guys. Headshot, you got any final words before we hit stop?
Nothing I can think of. I think you covered it all. Just thank you for sticking it through to the end and listening, and let us know if you like it and want to hear more. Yeah. Thanks very much, guys. Take care, and I hope you all have had a good year of gaming as well. If you've got a comment section down below, why don't you share some of your favourite games this year that you've played? It doesn't have to be from this year. It could be from any year. Just what did you play this year? Let us know. Thanks very much, guys. Take care. Bye for now. Auf Wiedersehen.